WesWes Show.
All right, welcome back to another episode of the 1 through 5 Footy Podcast. Joined today, thankfully, by my also Pete. How's it going, bro?
Good. Morning, evening.
Man, I've had to drag in my ring-in and expert analyst from the Counteract, Stacey Teriani. How's it going, bro?
Thanks, also. I'll take that intro. Thanks, brother.
Uh, um, cool, man. It's been a pretty exciting week coming into these last few rounds. Um, Top teams are doing what the top teams are doing. People are going to say that the Warriors squeezed in, but we'll cover that off. Yeah, I think let's get right into it. Some of the breaking news, let's cover it off. Some of these signings, man, one of the big ones at the moment, Tino and David. I think they're excellent signings. 12 million for 10 years for Tino. That's a long contract for a prop. And then David signing again for 3 years at 3 million. So yeah, a lot of money for these young kids. Your thoughts on that first, Pete?
Oh, I
What do you
think
think
that's
of those big contracts for the boys?
I think that's setting a new benchmark, especially with when you've got forwards asking for that type of money and being able to receive that type of money, and then after that, it sort of means when it comes to halves, what are they worth eventually? Um, 10 years, that's a massive contract, eh? But then again, we've seen how well Tamalolo's been able to pan out with his one, eh? He's been hot and cold, but
Yeah,
it's
what's his
no, it's
when's
done
his
him
10
well.
years up on his one? Mm. Yeah, Stace.
Yeah, it's interesting because props don't normally get paid that much. Like Pete said, it's normally the halves and the guys in the spine that get that much money. But I think I'm all for it. I think the props are worth that money. So if you look at the top three sides, look at the Panthers, right? They've got Fisher Harris and Leota, the Bronx with Haas and Co. And us at the Warriors, we've got Funua Blake. So it's that old adage that the game's won and lost up front. So if you have that alpha sort of middle forward, everything flows off the back of that. So they don't get enough credit. But look at someone like if you look at Reynolds at the Bronx, he was deemed not worthy of a long contract extension itself. He's been a gun for the Bronx playing off the back of their go forward. Sean Johnson, he's having a potential Dally M season this year, which has coincided with Fanua Blake gripping up. So, Cleary's been doing it for a while now at the Panthers on the back of their middles. So the spine guys, they get a lot of the money and a lot of the credit, but they only function off the back of the middles. So it's about time the props started getting paid. So I'm glad they're getting that money. So good on Tino and Co getting those contract upgrades for sure.
Yeah, inspiring too. Like I guess even as a Pacifica, like when you see kids like in their profession getting this kind of money, kind of getting what they're worth, it kind of makes you think like you know when you know you're doing a good job, how do you start doing what these kids are doing? So I think credit to their agents, making sure that like you're saying, kind of highlighting these things that these guys are doing. Yeah, and getting winning them these huge contracts. Um, some talk around his longevity as a middle
Mm.
for 10 years. I think yeah, talk of possibly moving. I mean, that try that he scored on the weekend, that's like a centre try, just skipping out and getting through those tackles. So yeah, that'll be interesting. I don't know if you think he'll stay in the middles there, Stacey?
Yeah, it's a tough one, eh? 10 years. Like anything can happen. That's such a long term. Anything can happen in that 10 years. And I know Pete brought up Tom Malolo. I'm not sure how much longer he's got, but yeah, that was 10 years, 10 million. And you think in the early days when he was winning those Dally M's, he was worth the money. He was probably worth more than 1 million. He was probably like 1.2, 1.3 million. But now I think he's coming off the bench a bit more, and all those hits and all that contact he's taken in the middle has really taken its toll. So that's the issue. I think Tino might be 23, 24. At the end of his contract, he could be 34. What does he
34,
look like
yeah.
at that age? You know what I mean? And that's where it can be a bit tricky with the longer term contracts. But at this stage, he looks like he's worth it. So when you factor in all the leadership and off-field stuff and all the things he does in the community and all this other external factors apart from the on-field playing, then maybe it might be a good deal for him.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mind you, you've got
you're
Reece
saying
Walsh.
Tomalolo's. Oh yeah.
Mind you, you've got old
What you say?
Reece Walsh. He comes off contract in November. I think it's this year. So, having those guys being able to be 1.2 mil players, it'd be really interesting to see exactly what type of money that, teams would be willing to offer him.
Reece Walsh. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Because
I
the
think
Bronx
that's where it
will.
might start to get a bit tricky because give Payne Haas that much money. Reece Walsh is going to need a contract upgrade. Ezra Mam's probably going to need a contract upgrade, and they can't really hold everyone. So that's where it starts getting a bit tricky. Who you upgrade and who you have to let go when the Bronx start making some noise in the
Well,
playoffs
yeah,
stuff.
especially when if these, because I guess the agents have to be good enough too. So whoever is Reece Walsh's agent is going to be pushing. Like you can't see contracts like that and let a kid like Reece Walsh not get at least close to those or more. He's playing real good, like, and yeah, I think those are going to be huge contracts, especially with Payne, like you said. I think it's 3 mil for 3 years.
Yeah.
They kind
3.3?
of haven't. Three. Okay, so 1.1 a year. Man, that's huge. Yeah, again, yeah, that's a huge amount in that cap. Well, when's Reynolds? Is he off from next year or this year?
Yeah, he signed 3 years. I think he's got one more year. Might have to check that, but I know Cy will know. But yeah, he's been worth his weight in gold. So for the
Mm,
Bronx, so
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and you probably think if he wants to sign on a couple more years or another year extension, the Bronx will probably give it to him because he's worth it. So yeah, that's when it starts to get a bit dodgy, and they might have to pull out the old school brown paper bags that they used to do in the 90s. But
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it gets a
Trying
bit
to figure
interesting.
out how the old Bulldogs days. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, and I guess that's the thing. Like, how do you justify? Like, I guess out of that conversation, if you're talking new contracts, someone like Tomalolo, would you be offering him 1 million at the moment,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
in
that's
those
right.
type of
So
teams? Yeah.
I suppose on the balance of it, like if you look at the averages, he averaged 1 million because there was periods he won the Dalian Player of the Year. I'm just trying to have a look quickly on Google now, but I mean, I'm not sure if he won it once or twice. And that award really goes to
Yeah, the backs.
spine
Yeah,
type
yeah.
players. So there was a period where he was undeniably the best middle in the world and probably arguably the best forward. So he was worth the money, and I think across the average he's probably worth it. But if you look now, he's not worth it. He's not getting that same thing. So
And maybe it was a front
he's only
loaded
30
kind of
too.
contract. Maybe it was he was playing his best and
Yeah,
giving him
that's right.
more of that money up front, so that it probably evens out now. Maybe the caps, it's allowing
Mind you,
leverage there because he probably knew
if you
it
look at it from the other
winds
side
down.
of the coin as well, where you've got players that are just purely playing for the love of the game, like Sean Johnson, that guy could demand crazy money at the moment, but for some odd reason he's willing to stay on
Well,
with
yeah,
the.
I heard the Tigers. Yeah, the Tigers offer was quite a bit more than what he settled with the Warriors, but I guess that's where he's. You can see he's just enjoying his footy. Um, yeah, I think that's where he's playing best at the moment. Is just kind of someone who's really just enjoying it for the love of the game. Kind of that surrounding. Yeah, what kind of Webster's brought there. Um, man, yeah. Talking in terms of Ford's TPJ giving up the game at the end of the
Yeah,
season
that's right.
and moving to boxing. That's yeah. I don't know how do you market someone like that? Because that's the thing. Boxing isn't just your skill in the ring. You've got to get offers, and if these guys see him as just some big guy who's had 2 fights and can, probably pummel them, he's not going to get fights. So what are they marking him as? Because if they look and go, "Oh mate, nah, I'm not not getting in the ring with this guy," until like, yeah, they don't want to lose. That's the only way you get up there is if they're offering you those fights. So what are these guys looking to market him as? If he's a guy who doesn't meet his potential in NRL, is he going to another sport just to become a guy who didn't meet his potential in boxing?
Hmm. I think he's got a profile already. So I think that's definitely going to help. If you're a boxer coming through, that's where it can be hard. If no one knows you, no one's going to come and watch your fights. But
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
with Pagai Junior, I'm not like a big fan of the move, but I'll watch his fights just to
Yeah,
see how he
exactly.
goes.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think they could market it like that and saying, "Hey, look, this guy's cross codes," and that interest, that TV interest, the
We'll
viewers
bring
and the pay per
those kind of
views and all the
fights.
rest of it.
Yeah,
That's how
yeah.
we can get a bit of
Mm.
cash. But that starts to wear thin after a while if you can't perform.
Well, and
So
I
it's going
think
to be an
that's
interesting
a
move.
good point because I guess the guys he's got in his corner is Sonny Bill. So it's guys who know how to market and bring. 'Cause that's probably the angle, like you're saying, the popularity. Because if they can take that social media and get the fan base to want to follow it, that's how they'll grow that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know, Pete. What do you think?
Is Paul Gannon like a what do they call him? Does he go out and promote boxing for ex-league players now, or what's his gig?
Oh, I don't know.
Because he seems to be
Yeah.
able to bring in fights. That guy. So I thought maybe
Mm.
he's sort of like out there trying to be a promoter, take on
Yeah,
ex-league players
Prima.
and bring them
Yeah,
into the
maybe
boxing ring.
because he's kind of done enough in the ring. He's been a good boxer. I think that's the thing. I rate him as kind of when he did the switch. Maybe that's what TPJ sees himself being able to do.
Yeah. The thing was, the difference with Gallon is Gallon played league till he was 34,
Yeah,
whatever,
sure. Yeah,
and he was
exactly.
done. He was done. His body had done, and then at least he still had that desire to be pro athlete, and he was able to make a whole heap of money afterwards
Yeah,
with
yeah.
boxing. TPJ is only 27, so he's leaving in what potentially could be some of
Yeah,
his prime
three quarters
years.
of a million, they'll say. So he's like on
Yeah,
750.
750 for next year. So I suppose from the Bulldogs' perspective, if you look at it from the other side, I'm not sure he's worth 750. So if they can get that off the cap, that's one of the issues the Dogs have. They've overpaid a whole heap of guys, and their cap's a bit out of whack. One of our guys who's wrote an article for us. He's a diehard Bulldog supporter. He could probably explain it a bit better than I can. Um, but if they can get 750 off their cap and get someone else who's worth
Interesting.
that
Ah,
money,
bloody hell.
you can get a couple of good signings or whatever. One good signing who performs week in week out, they could potentially turn that around. So, I suppose from the Bulldog side at least, it
Yeah,
gives
yeah,
them an
because they've got some.
opportunity to sort of sort their cap out a bit better.
Well, mate, I don't know if that's the only problem. Because they're kind of, with their buys, they're going to be like a Panthers 2.0. They got Crichton coming in, Jamin Salmon. Then you've got all those existing guys that are already there with Matt Burton and that re-signing. So
Yeah, I think if you look at the Bulldogs, like they've been struggling for a couple of years now. They've been close to the bottom for a bit. So Phil Gould sort of come in and he said, "Hey, look, we need to get guys who know what success looks like and have been in successful teams." So he's purposely gone out and got these guys from teams like the Panthers, for instance. He's got a couple of South guys who have played in five straight preliminary finals, and he's specifically targeted guys who know how to win, just to try and turn that culture around. We'll see how that goes, but yeah.
yeah, nice, Wolf. All right, man. This guy just dropped off when I wanted him to talk and explain his eels. Um, yeah, I will quickly just have a look at the ladder and kind of where things are at. I guess the Panthers currently sitting at top.
Mm.
3 weeks to go. Are you locking them in as minor premiers?
I am. I'm just trying to pull up their schedule now. I think they've got all winnable games,
Mm.
and it's going to be
Titans this
interesting.
week.
Yeah, I wonder if they might need a loss. Hey, I was thinking that it's hard to maintain the rage. I
Just
saw this other
constantly.
stat which I was going to bring up a bit later, but what was I looking at? Something the Panthers, they've won seven games in a row.
Okay,
So
yeah, yeah.
if they won every game all the way to the grand final, they'll win 13 straight games. That's never ever been done before in the history of rugby league. The record to get the record number of wins right through to the grand final was 11. That was done
Oh,
by
wow.
Souths, way back in 1955, and Manly did it in 1972. So I'm not sure if the
For a run
Panthers,
to the final stretch, you mean?
yeah,
That many
like
games?
win all the way to including the grand final. So
Oh,
that will be
okay.
the Panthers will set a new record. Um, I'm
They're
not sure if they need a loss before then, or if they can
yeah.
just carry on and break the record. But Yeah, that was just sort of an interesting stat I heard. So
They
mm,
could be a record-breaking team though. Like,
yeah, they could be.
yeah, they're real impressive. Like, just watching them. I think that'll be interesting to see. But I think they're kind of even with a loss, I think they stay up there.
Do you think anyone like they just seem so much better than everyone else? So do you think
Well, I
anyone could
think
take them?
Manly kind of showed how you can beat them, like Manly,
Oh,
and kind of
kick on the first
what
tactics,
the
you mean? Because I don't know about that one either. I don't know
nah,
about that one. That was
I
a bit
think
out
just
there.
the wrestle, just their like the game the week before, like I couldn't watch the end of that Melbourne game because they were just like I was saying aside, just hands and knees every tackle, and it wasn't
Mm.
just our forwards, like their forwards, every player was able to just get on that front foot of every player of the ball, whereas Manu was able to get them on their backs quite a lot and just keeping that wrestle. So I think in slowing their play, that's one key thing is being able to kind of slow that down. But then yeah, you've got to be able to execute an attack. Um, so I think that's something Warriors can do with the defense piece. And then they have got the attack, but it's being able to execute because I guess that's where the Panthers are just kind of like that Storm professionalism, like just their completions. Um, yeah, they're almost like that Storm. You know, you've got to if you want going to beat these guys, you've got to be perfect. Um, and I don't think the Warriors have played a perfect game this season yet. Um, so yeah, last couple of games have. I think I've taken them as positives. You know, kind of working on stuff they need to. Um, I think last week was an example of them just being able to let other leaders, kind of Noah Blake leading last week. I think it's just Tohu Harris, just seeing, it's not just on the shoulders of one player. I think Broncos been doing that a bit, those games where Reynolds was out. I think that was almost like a tester for them to see, can we do this stuff when he's not there? So I think they're just covering for that.
Mm. Just on that game, like you talked about that tactic, I actually might now that you mention it, I kind of agree with you there. The Seagulls tactics against the Panthers, because like the way the Panthers are just killing everyone, it's their back three.
Mm.
It's Edwards, To'o,
And
and
Taruva,
Taruva.
man, they're just so strong in those carries, like,
Yeah,
and it's get and so yeah, there was a good like they were able to get Edwards out of the game just by kicking early and just getting him to and so that kind of put him off his game and then getting their D down on him,
yeah, and
and
also
they
when
kind
when they
of
kick like Taruva and To'o are running up in the line, so they
mm,
can isolate Edwards at the back. But because they get so much go forward and so much momentum out of that back three, that
yeah,
means that their middles, Fisher Harrison and
are
Leota, they don't
literally
have to
staying in
do
that third of the field as well. Yeah,
yeah,
they
they don't have
just
to do those hit ups, and they're fresh for the defense,
mm,
and that defense is what's winning them all their games. So those middles are putting a lot of emphasis on, line speed and making their tackles and stopping stopping the opposition.
the
So
opposition. Yeah, yeah.
it's the defense is great, but it's built on the back three doing a lot of the carries and
Mm.
saving the energy of the middles to focus on the defense. So it's a good system which all works well together. And
Yeah,
I suppose this is the tactic that Manly try to employ: is if we can get at that back three,
yeah,
then we can stop them and get the middles to do a bit more work. It didn't work, but
yeah,
I sort of
yeah,
half
yeah.
understand why he did it, even though I want the Warriors to try it, but maybe kick on the third, not on the first.
Yeah, or at least execute. That's the thing. It just comes down to you can. Yeah, those game plans are only as good as the execution because then
mm,
just look
mm.
go by. The Storm's still in there. I think I think I have them on my predictor as finishing fourth as well. You think
Yeah, I
they're?
think I'm agreeing with you there. I've got them. What have you made of the Broncos? Have you got them?
I've got them finishing out second. I don't think they'll drop a game.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, I had the. Oh, something changed. The Warriors are a second now. Oh, must have Panthers must have dropped out again.
Yeah, Broncos are looking really good. Like look at they've got that dual threat. Walsh, his speed and his ball playing at the back.
Mm.
It's almost undefendable. And that combination he's got with Reynolds now, it
Yeah,
makes
and
them
that's what
real
I was
dangerous. So
liking about that. Just Reynolds knowing when to let these guys have a turn. Like just,
yeah,
I think that was
exactly.
the thing. Like he can control the game so much, and then when it opened up, yeah, it was almost like just giving it to Ezra and Walsh to just have a go. And I think that's the scary thing that Reynolds is reading the game so good at the moment. He's yeah. So I think that's yeah Reynolds. Yeah, I guess because he's kind of older and no one, there's so many stars in that team. But what he's doing, um, yeah, I think he's ahead of Cleary. I guess just but like because there's so many different parts of the Panthers attack, you get more impressed by Cleary because of the team. But nah, I think Reynolds just as smart. So
Yeah. Yeah, one thing I saw is like the Bronx, they're on a bit of a scoring spree. So they've scored 30 plus in their last 5 games. And they've only done that once in their history. So they scored 30 plus in 5 games, 5 straight games, way back in 2000. And they bloody won the comp that year. So I know Size, he's doing backflips there. He say that. So I know he's a diehard Bronx fan. But
yeah.
they're looking really, really strong, eh?
Well,
Still
yeah,
three
and
weeks
I
to go,
think
so
that
anything can
was
happen. But
kind of one concern I had a while back. Kind of just that spine, and it was like even the Panthers. Just that hooker position.
mm,
And I know you don't really like Billy, but man, he's been doing good the last few weeks.
yeah, just on there. Oh, you're right. I'm not a fan of him. I thought it was bloody
The old let his son
borderline.
play.
Yeah, borderline nepotism. Him getting in that team all the
That
time. But
coach. Just let my son play. Hey, I'm the coach. Shut
yeah,
up. Just let him. Just leave my boy.
yeah. But to his credit, I'm with you. He's been playing good, and he's
Does.
like to me he's one of their most crucial guys, eh? Because you think they've got Reynolds and Walsh, and they've got the forwards, they've got everything, but no one touches the ball more than the hooker. So if he can get it together, everything else is sorted for the Bronx almost. So
Yeah, yeah.
good on Billy Walters. Give him some credit, even though I bag him all the time.
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a. I had the Storm kind of fighting it out, but I've got Storm at fourth, and then the Knights coming in at fifth.
Yep. Oh, it looks like we've got similar so far. Yeah, the top 4 and 5.
Yeah, and then I've got the. Oh, maybe I was playing around with this too much. I've got the
Big call,
Roosters
big
coming
call.
in.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't have the. I don't.
No, no, yeah. I think I was because I'm mucking around with this. Oh, nah, because I got the Roosters beating the
Big
Eels
call.
tomorrow. But I think that's the right call.
You want to log back out again in the beat and then come back in after
Back
this
just in
conversation, or
time, eh?
Um, yeah.
Shit.
Who else did I?
shit?
Yeah, and then I've got Roosters, and then the Eel. Oh no, then the Raiders and Cowboys. Raiders and Cowboys closing out my 7 and 8. What do you
So
got for
you
your?
don't have the Rabbitohs in there.
Nah, I had the Rabbitohs dropping out.
Ooh, and you got the Sharks there.
Shit. Ooh, big call.
Sharks dropping out.
Shit, you've got some movers and shakers.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, yeah. So it'll be interesting because that I think from maybe I think it's positional changes from 4 to 6 maybe. But yeah, I think that 6, 7, and 8 is anyone's ball game, or well, not anyone's. I think it's kind of the Rabbits, Sharks, and Sea Eagles to fight it out for those. With the Cowboys, Raiders, and Roosters. I have the Roosters in the mix somehow.
Did you make those predictions?
Ooh,
What have you got?
good.
What have you got closing out your 6 to 8?
I think we agree 1 to 5.
Yeah, yeah.
We've got the same. I've got the Sharks finishing 6th, Rabbits 7th, and Raiders 8th. So I've got the same top 8 that's current, just jostling for those last bottom 4, 5 to 8 spot in there. Um,
Okay, okay. Ah,
yeah.
I see where you're. So I think you've got this. Let me just make some changes to this and have a look what changes. Maybe I had the Rabbits losing 2 games because they got the bye next week, so that's free for them. So this week's yeah, this week and their last game against the Roosters is crucial, but I had the Roosters pipping them for that, so that's
Okay.
probably the difference.
Yep. Mm. Yeah. Well, that's good. It's still, it's good to know that there's still lots to play for right to the end of the season. It's
Yeah,
sort of, it
I
can be
think
a
that's
bit.
what they've
bit
done well with the draw. Like
mm,
it's even the top teams, like they're locked in, but there could be movements if they drop some of those.
yep.
Um, cool. Let's have a look at those games for this week because I know the next one's. kicked off or just about to. Last 3 weeks in, man. So we got the Cowboys versus the
What's your,
Sharks tonight.
that one? I
What you
actually
go
went
for that one?
Cowboys on that game.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, after the actually, I think I went him too. Stace.
Yeah, Sharks have won 12 of their last 14 regular season games against the Cowboys, and they've won 9
Oh,
in a row. So they got the
against the
Cowboys number.
Cowboys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tom Malola's 250th, but I like the Sharks for I don't know why. There's always those foibles of the draw where someone's got someone covered for whatever reason, psychological reason. So I'll just go for the Sharks just for that
Yeah,
reason.
that actually
Just to
sounds
have
like a
them.
Sharks. Especially coming off last week, man. They look really good again, eh? Just clicked in again.
Yeah. They got that new 5'8" there, Trindle. He looks
Bro,
good,
that
eh?
double
Because
pump that he did for
oh,
that,
bro,
man, that was because he pumped and I think he stepped in and then went, and that's what just yeah, it
it's
just
elite
looked
playing, eh?
so good that it would look wrong.
Yeah, you know before it's sort of like they had Moylan. His form was poor, and it was sort of like it was all on Nico Hines. And
Yeah,
if he
yeah.
can, that makes it easy for the defense. They're just all putting all their pressure on Nico Hines. So he's good. He's a gun actually, but he
Mm.
just needs that bit of help. And if he can get some help, which he's getting from Trindle, the Sharks look a different team because they were tumbling down the table sort of 2 3 weeks back.
And that Titans team, like after I thought they were gonna show up after like pushing the Warriors the week before, and then I thought with the new signings, that was quite yeah, especially like they look like they were good, but then you look at the score like no. But I think that's kind of the turnaround of the Sharks. So yeah, you're probably right. I think Valentine's still out for the
Yeah,
Cowboys as well.
yeah,
So that's
that's a big loss, save.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, good call for that one. Tomorrow night, um, mate, everyone's expecting the Warriors to drop this. I don't know why. Pete, you another hater?
The Warriors. Mind you, I think they could do. I think the Warriors could actually do with a loss.
Warriors Manly at home, man. Oh, you've been reading the same reports as Stace. Stace was saying just before as well. I think when you cut out that it was if you have a long run of
No,
wins
because if
before the
you,
final. I think yeah. What are the Warriors on
yeah,
5 on the trot as well, eh?
Yeah, they're on 5 in a row. So if
Yeah,
they win all their games right through to the grand final, they'll win 11,
they'll do
which
the
will be the
same.
record. They'll equal the record, 115 years record, um, in 115 years of rugby league. So
Now that is
it's
something I can get behind.
well, that also might mean they might need to lose one. Just the law of averages. Not that I'm you know pining for a loss or anything, but yeah.
Mm.
Sorry, carry
yeah. I
on,
just
Pete.
think
What were
that if
you,
they
what were you
take a
saying?
loss and then after that, it'll just allow them to regather. Because at the moment, if they're constantly winning and then after that, there's a certain expectation of them to win from the fans.
Hmm.
Then again, mate, you don't want winners
Uh,
win,
see,
man. I don't know, it's winners to just
Yeah, I'm not really. I understand it, but it's hard for me. Yeah, as a Warriors fan, to subscribe to that theory of we need to lose one. It's
yeah to
just
drop
like
one. I don't
just
know.
carry on, just
Yeah,
carry on.
yeah.
If you can carry on winning.
Especially like man, just see the season Johnson's having, and he hasn't missed a game either.
Yeah.
Like I was looking through, I was thinking, shucks, this guy hasn't actually missed a game this season. So
Mhm.
I didn't see the Seagulls last. I think they played their final last week. I think they threw everything and failed, and that is why they're gonna
because
fail
they're
this
on.
season. Um, Cams was doing some maths. They're on what are their points at the moment? I think they
Seagulls are where is it?
25 points. So the eight the Rabbits are on 8 on 28 points. So they're on 25. So they're coming 12th at the moment. But nah, just their run home. They're dependent on other games. So even if they win all their games, they've still got to play those maths because there's there's some other games. Yeah, yeah. So I can't see them doing it. Yeah, I think an important one for the Warriors. I don't think Manly will turn up, so I think the
Ooh,
Warriors by
big
22
call,
on this one.
big call.
Whoa.
Right? Yeah, I think they're just gonna try and get some form now. Try and do some different stuff. I think they're taking some learnings last few weeks. So especially yeah, I think that Canberra game. So I think the Titans game. They played that last 10. There was a the Tigers game, the bit of a comeback, but I think they kind of learned how to close out a 10 minutes there, kind of finish out that game, let the Fords lead. But yeah, I think they're kind of due for a well-rounded game. So yeah, I'm pipping them for this one against Manly.
Yeah. Just on there, like the Warriors, like you said, Tons, they won 5 in a row.
Hmm.
So if they win this week, that'll be 6 straight. And they haven't won 6 straight since 2002, which is when we made that grand final that year. So
Ominous. See?
ominous, ominous. I like that. Yeah. Also, they're getting Chance back as well because I think that was actually a big loss. He
Yeah,
was actually quite important to the team, so he just
yeah,
offers
especially
that
just
little bit of
defensive.
polish.
Just
Yeah,
how big
exactly.
he's good and he's
Defensively.
fast, but just being able to organize the boys. So
Yeah, I agree with that. So that's where the Tigers they look quite good, but against someone they needed Chance to do the defensive
mm.
organisation. He's a
Yeah,
crucial
yeah,
part of
because
that.
even that that bloody lorry break through the middle, as impressive as that was, I think that was just Mitch Barnett a bit out. Whereas that stuff that Chance organises to help make sure they're not so wide, just little gaps like that, or he'd cover that. Um, nice. Pete, your eels, mate, your eels. The moonwalk from Farnworth after he kicked your halfback in the
Mind you, for him to
face.
be able to play
Oh,
play a full half with a broken eye socket, that's
Yeah, right. I wonder if he felt it. I wonder if he knew it was if it was just maybe he
no,
just thought it was like a
I think
black
he
eye or
felt it, and
something.
then after that he really felt it when Farmer put his ankle in, put his bloody heel in there as well, eh? Bloody shit.
They must have given him the stuff out the back so he could play on.
Yeah, no, they've got a really bad run on the to the end, eh?
Yeah, man. So I think this is winnable, but man, the Roosters' form last week.
I
What are your
think
thoughts? Hey, you reckon you guys can get up?
I think
Well, you have
if
to.
they can more or less pull a rabbit out of the head, and then after that,
oh
Put
no.
them on the last 3 minutes then if you want to win.
that was the epitome. That guy won that by just doing that. 3 minutes on the field, 30K. That's a super player.
Oh,
That
I
is
would
a
say,
super player to be able to do that, eh? No, but I think when it comes down to the Eels, I think if everyone's on point, Penasini, who else? Gutho, he'd need to be on point. He'd have to be.
yeah, you guys are playing Dejan, so you're going to move Dejan to 6 and then
Yeah,
Dylan Brown's
mind
going
you,
to lead the
Dylan Brown,
boys around.
he's been on fire since he's been back, eh?
Ugh, mate, it's too late. He should have
That
been there, those other
that was Ryan
games.
Matheson right at
It's
the
cost your
beginning,
team,
eh?
man.
Wanting to sit out 3 games instead of pay $1,500 for a fine.
Yeah, that's true, eh?
Yeah,
Yeah, that was is
he
that
was
what
having
that
a
was
sook
about?
about
What was the
the
fine?
fine.
Like, so you guys need to upgrade your players, man. Pay them properly. This is what happens, man. $1,500 and you get people not playing 3 games because you guys are giving them $1,000 a week, man. Come on, man. These train and trials, not a. You probably got 15 of your 30 on train and trial. Upgrade these
Yeah, so
contracts, man.
mind you, Simonson had a good game last week as well.
I'm going Roosters.
So if
He's been playing all right.
Yeah, he's been good.
yeah.
Raiders, he's a
Yeah,
Raiders
so
boy.
they've got the talent on the field. They just need to be able to utilise each person, eh, and then have them work together.
Ah, but yeah, the Roosters look like they're starting to click. Doing a late run. Usually they're late starters, but around round 5 they come right. But I don't know. You reckon they're able to make it in, Stace? You don't have them coming in your 8, eh?
I don't have them coming in my 8. You know, I don't know, it's hard. People get mesmerised by the
The
team
names.
lists on paper. And that's why no one rates the Warriors. The Warriors don't have they're coming third, but they don't have the third best roster. So everyone's sort of writing them off. But the Roosters are sort of in the opposite basket where everyone looks at those team on paper and think, oh, they'll come right this week, this week, this week. So no one's really prepared to write them off. Even they've been in the bottom half of the table
But
for 3/4 of the season. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
but their run. So these 3 games, it's other than that last game. If they beat the Eels, then they've got the Tigers next week, and then they've got the Rabbits in their last game. Even if they drop that Rabbits game, I've still got them in the 8. So I think
Ooh.
it may be a bit dependent on the other games around them.
Yeah, you might be right there. So this has the potential to be a really good game. So
Yeah, yeah.
definitely worth a watch. But I just having a look at some of the stats. So just looking back at the past decade, right? Only one team has missed the top 8 the year after playing in the grand final. So that was the Cowboys. They missed the playoffs in 2018 after playing in the grand final in 2017.
Oh, well.
So the Eels, they've got a lot to play for, man. They don't want to be added to that
At least it's not an
statistic.
old record, Pete. It's like just an
Yeah.
upgrade from the last few years. So
But, man, honestly, Mitch Moses, he's so important. So that sort of sways it to me to the Roosters, just for that reason. If he was playing, I would pick the Eels. He's that good and he's that important. But yeah, the Eels, they need to improve their defence. If they want to win, they've conceded at least 20 points in the last 7 straight games. So
I think
uh,
I think it was so crucial. Like I don't think they covered the loss of Mani well enough. Because
yeah,
that go forward from Reed Mani, I think he struggled at the Dogs. But man, yeah, once he left, I think that middle kind of
Mind you, it wasn't just
collapsed.
Greg Money, and then after you got
mm,
Papali'i when he went off to the Dogs as well. I think that created a massive hole in the team,
Yeah, he
just
did
because he was able
before. Yeah.
to work in with Moses, and then after that actually like run the gaps.
well, they got that guy Cartwright. Cartwright's pretty good.
Yeah,
This
yeah,
is the best
actually,
he's ever played.
yeah, he rips up from
He's always had the
Anderson.
potential to be good, and he's finally delivering on some of that. Sean Lane's had a bit of injury, so they've got back
Mm.
rowers. They've got some gun back rowers there. But you're right, Papali'i's still a big loss.
Well, Hopgood's been an awesome
Oh,
signing.
bro,
He
he's
needs
been
an
awesome, yeah.
upgrade. Did he got an upgrade? He's re-signed till 2025, so surely he must have got an upgrade up from his contract.
Yeah, the Eels are similar to the Roosters. Like on paper,
Mm.
they've got a way better team than wherever they are on the ladder. So it's just one of those scratching your head about what's going on with some of these teams. The ladder position compared
Mind
to
you,
the
you could say
roster.
that about the
Yeah,
Bulldogs,
true.
When you have a look at their roster, they've got some massive names in there.
But then you look, that was their full
Yeah,
roster, pretty much all their guns last week. They were horrible. So yeah, I don't know. Man, Serrato, poor dude. I feel sorry for him. He's struggling with those guys after that performance. Tigers, Dolphins. You guys,
yeah. I've actually got
Dolphins
Tigers
got a
in that
few
one.
outs for this game actually. Yeah, Hammer's out for this game. Um, who else is out? I don't know why they're out. If they're injured. Who'd you go for this game, Stace?
Yeah, I'm with Pete. I'm going Tigers. Just the injuries that you mentioned.
Mm.
So Hamaso's out, Marshall King's out, Kenny Bromwich out, Lemuelu's out. So
Oh
these are
Yeah,
well,
he's
crucial
been
guys for them.
yeah, he's
punches
been
holes, that
carving
guy.
for them. Though.
And
Mm-hmm.
Tigers have been poor, but I don't know if the
Like
Dolphins
last
can
year.
recover from those guns out. So let's go the Tigers for that reason. Yeah, I'm with Pete on that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Like that game last week, man. I don't know if that was like planned, just awesome gameplay, or if these guys just throwing everything they had, just do whatever. Because that's part of like their flair as well. So it was hard to tell. Like, is that set moves or just each you just want to throw the ball around because you guys are wooden spoon? Man, that was just a frustrating game for the Warriors to
Mind
let
you,
that
Luke
back
Brooks,
in almost.
he's quite the player, eh?
Yeah. So what's the story?
Who does he sign
Where's
with?
he going next year?
Is it Seagulls?
Is that a deal? Oh yes, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think that'll be a good mix with
Yeah.
Cherry Evans. Oh.
Yep.
All right. Panthers Titans.
Got to give that. Got to
Any
give that to
upsets here?
Panthers. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's just a bit of hope because there's nothing really you can kind of. Yeah, oh, foreign's out. So, yeah. Oh, foreign and Tanner Boyd. Who's their house? Jaden Campbell and Tom Weaver. All right. Where are they
Mind
playing?
you,
Another
Campbell, he's a
cricket
gun
score.
when he runs, eh? Yeah, he's got some wheels on him,
He
eh?
is fast, eh? I think we missed him when me and Sai were doing our eight fastest. I think we talked up a FIFA, but I think we missed Jaden. He should have definitely been in that list.
Panthers, they've won 7 straight, so similar to like what Pete mentioned about the
Yeah,
Warriors. I'm sort of on that buzz. Do they need to get a loss before the playoffs? Because it's hard to maintain that rage for the duration of the season, which that stats I brought up earlier. It's only been done 11 wins to win the grand finals. Only been done twice in 115 years. So it's
but what? Yeah, to
I don't
do
think they'll
that,
get a
like,
loss this week
yeah, but yeah,
because
that's the thing. Would you as a well, who makes that call? Would you do it as a team or kind of like a?
the Panthers. I reckon, yeah, like we'll probably do this podcast in like 10 years' time. You talk about the all-time great teams. We'll talk about those Raiders teams of late 80s, early 90s. Those Bronx teams of the 90s. I know Pete will probably bring up his Eels teams of the 80s, but this Panthers team will be in that conversation. They're that good. So they are a team who could potentially break that record. But it's just one of those records that it's hard to just win all the way and keep winning all the way to the grand final. So
What was their win streak in 2021? Didn't they get to like oh, I thought they got up to like 23 games. From they
no,
carried over the games from 2020
yeah, but it's this record is the most wins all the way, including the playoffs, all the way to the
to
grand
the
final,
actual.
to the
Okay,
end. Yeah,
wow,
to the
yeah,
end.
yeah.
So I know there have been longer winning streaks, but it's just
That
all the
run to
way
the
to the
to
to
the
the final.
final. Yeah,
So
yeah. Shucks, 11 is yeah.
yeah, 11's the most. So they'll be beating that. And like you mentioned, Tana, the loss of Boyd, he's out for the season. Foreign's out. You got Tom Weaver. He's by all accounts he's quite promising, but like a lot of the young halves, questionable on defence. So he's up against Luai, Scott Sorensen, who we mentioned before on that side. So I think they'll go after him, and the Panthers will probably jag a win off the back of that. So okay, Panthers 13 plus. Panthers by
Speaking of
14,
Luai,
we'll
he's
see.
re-signed with the Panthers again, eh? Yeah. I'm sure I
Has
was
he?
reading something about that
Oh, so
earlier on that he
oh yeah.
just re-signed with them. So he's going to stay with the Panthers.
Oh, good on him.
How did they see? There's brown paper bags right there. If they're upgrading everyone else, how they fit Luai in? Surely he's close to $1 million player.
They also picked up Dane Laurie as well, who just carved up last week
Oh, is
at
he?
five
Yeah,
eight.
yeah.
So I don't know how they're going to fit everyone in there. Laurie he should be playing first grade. He's too good to be playing reserve grade, but
Mm-hmm.
he ain't gonna be usurping either Cleary or Luai
Mind you, the
at
cap
back from.
moves next year as well, eh? Per team.
Yeah, yeah. So I heard something. Is that because of the way that the
No,
RLPA
I think
came
that's
out and said
completely
there's
separate,
a
eh? Like they're
kind
talking
of
about the
that
cap moving prior
increase?
to that. I think it goes up by
Okay.
2 mil per team.
What's that take it to? What's the cap at the moment? Oh no, that's my fantasy cap. I don't know what the real one is. Surely fantasy must be about the same. They give you on that 12 mil. All right. Storm and Dragons. I think Rabbits made the Dragons look better than they were last week.
Mm. Yeah, it'd be good for the Storm to flick their bus away. They look really good last week. I
Yeah.
actually watched that game, and they put Ricky Stewart, he was livid. The Raiders are competing for a top four spot. That was fourth against fifth in that
Yeah,
game, and
yeah, that was the game.
they got
Yeah,
put to the sword. So the Storm, they might be finding some good form at the right time, and if they can get Peppenhausen back as well, they could be
yeah, that's right. He's played a
another one to
couple
watch out
games,
for.
eh? The reserve grade.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's another easy. Well, for me, an easy pick. I'll pick the Storm to win that one quite comfortably.
Yeah, Pete,
I
you
think
see
it all
this one
depends
any
on how
different?
Maxwell actually comes out and plays. Like if he's on, and then after the rest of the Dragons seem to be on, and again, I think the Storm could afford to actually drop this game. Mind you, I think they might end up actually losing today because when you're playing against a team that's got absolutely nothing to lose,
You know what? I think you keep reviewing these games from the perspective of an Eels fan. You're talking about all the top 8 teams need to drop.
He's
hey
still
man, I'm
working
trying to
his
work
They
the
need to
numbers
magic,
drop.
you
here,
They
right?
know.
need to drop
I'm trying to
because
work
my
the numbers to make
calculation
sure that my
says
team
that
gets
the
on the
Eels
eight.
need to win.
His
I need the
affixes and
Dragons to win this
results
one.
predictors, but luckily these are those teams you need to drop so that gap comes closer. Yeah, no, I think that's an easy win for the Storm. Man, looking real good. Yeah, that's going to be a big one. Like I think that's such a luxury to have. Potentially Pappenhausen coming back for the final series. I think they're locked in at fourth.
Yeah,
Nick Meaney's doing so good at the moment that it's like, yeah, like I guess
yeah.
there's no rush.
That could get interesting. If he does come back, what they do with Nick Meaney, because he's actually had a good year. So
Hmm
how they fit everyone in there.
I think that's a testament to the Storm too, eh? Just their ability to, make guns out of, guys that are, just good players.
Yeah,
Just real, just focused on what their job is. Just makes them better players. Good to see those homegrown boys, Tono Maipea and Seve as well in the middle there.
yeah, exactly.
Sunday's games, Rabbitohs Knights. Should be a tight one.
I've got the Rabbits.
Yeah, your thoughts on
Yeah,
this? You went
just because
Rabbits.
last week wasn't a true indication of how well they can actually play. I think last week they were still a bit frosty with the
Hmm
way they were playing, especially Trell. He had some moments throughout the game, but he's way better than what.
Oh, bro, that jump and
Even
little
though that was
offload, that
forward,
was.
he was offside. But even though he was offside, that was that was awesome the way he did that. If would have been even better if he was onside, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one could be potentially match of the round. You've got two
Mm,
teams desperate to secure a playoff spot, particularly the Rabbitohs, if we go by your ladder predictor there, Tannen. But,
yeah, yeah.
we know South, they love that sweeping play to the left with Walker and Latrell and Johnston in the corner. But the Knights, they're on a 6-game win streak.
Yeah.
And they've benefited from some consistency in their selection. So they've had essentially the same back five have played during that streak. Only Bradman Bessie's missed a game against the Dolphins, I think, a few weeks back. And that consistency of selection and understanding on defence will be crucial
Mm.
for those outsides against the Rabbits who like to play that sort of style. So I do think the Knights can hold them out. I'll go the Knights on that one.
Yeah, I went Knights for this as well. Yeah, they're looking real good. Yeah, just their forwards too, like just their up tempo again. I think is like you're saying that back five consistency and a lot of props to them. Man, Gagai's been playing good, but
Yeah,
just their forwards. Phoenix Crossland, like you said, yeah, we'll touch him if we get to the internationals, but a Kiwi. Just found out he's a Kiwi. So but yeah, his go for just again that hooker position so key. So that'll be a cool matchup, him and Damien Cook. But yeah, I've pipped them the Knights just off their form, like you're saying, a run of six. Um, yeah, I see them winning this one as well. They're looking real good.
yeah,
Um, And then rounding out the weekend is the Raiders and the Dogs. Um, yeah, I was worried about the Dogs last week. I was saying either they'll turn up and be able to kind of hold it out,
Yeah.
but might be another hiding. And sure enough, yeah, I don't know what Serrato does when he's getting hidings like that from teams like the Knights. Um,
I've
Pete,
got
what do
the
you think of this one?
yeah.
Raiders
I think the Raiders are slowly
too
starting to
strong at
click
home.
in there. Eh? Like all their players seem to be working well together. Where there seems to be a bit of a breakdown with the Bulldogs. I think they've got way too many stars. They
Mm,
don't want to work with each other.
yeah.
Because they've got on paper they've got the team. Eh?
Well, yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, on paper. Yeah. States, yeah,
Mm,
straightforward one there.
yeah, I think so. Like we've spoken on this podcast a lot about the Bulldogs' defence, and they've conceded 37 tries through the middle. That's easily the most in the competition by quite a long way through the middle. And when you look at the Raiders and how they play and their strengths, they've got Tapini and Papali'i through the middle, Corey Horsburgh at lock. So that's three of their best players are all middles. So they're just going to run through the middle again. That's potentially bad matchup for the Bulldogs. Or maybe a good matchup if you're a Raiders supporter. But yeah, I think the Raiders could blow the Dogs away here. Yeah, I'll go Raiders quite a lot, maybe by 20.
Nice. Nice. Good work on predictions. Update on that game happening at the moment. 12-all. First
Ooh.
half, Sharks. 12-all to the Cowboys. Man, it's I have to jump off quickly and, and go check up on that game. In other news, so international teams. There's a double header. Kiwis and Toa Samoa. October, I think it's been announced for. Um, so yeah, that looks exciting. I saw that prediction team that came out for the Kiwis that the Fox Sports put forward. Your thoughts on that team? That's Joey Manu at fullback, Ronaldo and with Dylan Watene-Zelezniak, the wingers, Chance Nickel Clockstead and Matt Tumoko as your centres. In the halves, Sean Johnson at 6, Jerome Hughes at 7, and then rounding out the forwards, you got Moses Leota and Fisher Harris in your forwards, Brandon Smith at hooker, uh, Britton Nakora, Marata Niakore, and Joseph Tapane, rounding out your locks. Um, yeah, your thoughts on that
Yeah, I was
team?
just about to say
Pretty
it's got
stacked
a lot of
Kiwis team,
depth to
man.
the Kiwi team now. Eh?
Yeah, yeah. Man, that's that Ford pack, Leota and Fisher Harris. And you're just saying, Stace, about that. Go for what they bring.
Yeah, yeah, that's a pretty good team. I suppose my concern is like playing Chance in the centres. I'm not sure how you'd go there. I get Joey Manu at fullback. He was he won the Golden Boot, the best player in the game. Essentially playing fullback for the Kiwis, so I'd probably keep him there at fullback. But I wouldn't mind picking sort of specialists. I thought that was a lot of the Kiwis' downfall at that World Cup. They had some guys playing out of position.
Mm-mm.
Chance, I think they had New Corday playing a bit of centre as well, and some other guys. Yeah, Foreign came on to sub Brandon Smith at hooker. It didn't really work. So I would ideally like to get some specialists, except for Joey Manu. I'll keep him at fullback and pick everyone else a specialist. So I would pick Remus Smith in the centres
Oh,
with
yeah,
Timoko.
Remus. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who's
That
in
would
the
be a change I'd
halves?
make.
Johnson and Jerome Hughes. Dylan Brown on the bench at 14. Would you rather start Dylan Brown? Hard not to put Johnson at starting at the way he's playing, though.
Yeah. We talked a bit about Crossland Day because I wouldn't mind having. We know Brandon Smith's not going to play the full 88 hooker,
Mm.
so I don't know. Oh, you'll probably know the answer to this, Pete. If
Yeah, no,
Dylan Brown can cover hooker, but if not, maybe
he's a
carry on.
man of many talents.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, you just want to get one Eels guy in there. Okay, I'll let that one go. Nah, nah,
Yes,
that's
I
good.
was saying Jordan Ricky over Niokore.
No, not for me.
Nah, I think you get more go forward from Marata.
Also, like this is it's good that they're promoting those this rep football, but the only rep football we've seen so far this year has been Origin. And you
Yeah.
look at what happened when and get like in game one they lost Tommy Turbo for a bit, and they ended up playing Nico Hines in the centres for that last 10 or whatever minutes was, and that was a bloody disaster. Then they lose to Brojovic again in game three. They end up playing bloody who was it? That hooker there at centre.
Oh,
We've
Damien
spoken
Cook.
already. Yeah, we've
Yeah,
spoken ad
yeah.
nauseum about that already. But that was bloody horrible. So this is what I like about New Kore. If there's no injuries, he can just play him as a forward. But
Mm,
if there is a back injury, he's comfortable playing in the backs. So that's what gets him over the line for me over bloody Ricky. Just
yeah.
because, he can play his normal role as the forward if there's no injuries, or he can cover the centres if need be. So I'll pick him just because I'm a bit burned from what happened to New South Wales when they got those back
Yeah.
injuries.
Nice. I haven't seen a predictor for the Toa Samoa team. But yeah, I guess they'd probably look similar to what they ran out during the last World Cup. You'd keep Swali'i at would we Swali'i even been available? Is he still here this season? I assumed.
Well, hopefully the Hammer makes himself available again because he was
Ah,
part of it and
yeah,
then
that's
got
right. He was injured during the World Cup. Oh.
yeah, he got injured during that World Cup,
Mm.
so he may get picked for Australia. But if he doesn't, I'd pick the Hammer at fullback and then pick Suali'i still on the wing maybe.
Oh, you keep him out on the wing. Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and then To'o on the other one.
Yep.
Who were the centres? Crichton and Tango, because Tango got injured last the World Cup as well, eh? Or
Yep.
did he come and cover? Oh no, what's his name came in? Lafali. So yeah, I
Yep.
guess that's the centres covered and your wingers. In the halves, you go with Luai.
Schuster maybe.
Oh, and Luai at 7.
Yep. Schuster at 6 if he wants to. If he wants to, yeah, I would because I didn't. I thought what's his name, Milford. He was poor in that final,
Yeah, yeah.
That Schuster.
so I probably would do that. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's what
quite
he's
like
saying.
Schuster.
Yeah, Chuck Schuster in there. And your forwards?
Yeah, just looking at the team, I don't know who they'd pick at hooker, but I still like Junior as he's
Junior,
captain.
he'd be, yeah. Have to be Junior leading.
Maybe Spencer Linu, who is on standby for Origin, so he might get the other
Yeah.
starting role at prop there. Not sure about hooker though, if who they've got there.
Yeah, true. I'm just wondering who could be make themselves available at hooker.
They should
Um,
have a good team, eh? I think Jaden Sewer was there. I'm not sure if he's injured or what, but he might still
yeah, there's
make it.
enough back rows to cover the rest of the
Yeah, Law
reserves.
from the Cowboys might be in the mix as well. So there's some options there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably just
If
question
it,
marks
if it
around
was Marty
hooker.
Tapau, would you put him in there?
Maybe the who's the combination.
Yeah, we might need to win by kneeing people in the face. You might want to try and get those knees up. Nah, I wouldn't. I wouldn't put him in there to be honest.
And I guess Papali'i, so he's retired from all international,
Oh,
all
is that right?
representative. Eh?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess that's why he didn't play Origin. So yeah, so it should be yeah, that should be a good game for the for that week. Or that double header at the thing.
Yeah, it might be
Um,
good, when we organise the 135 footy show to a trip because I think that game's at Eden Park, eh?
man, that'll be awesome. Yeah, just do a night out for that. Man, speaking of organizing a trip, how about the Las Vegas next year? We we'll talk to the producer. If you're listening, we're going to start a GoFundMe page. 135
Uh,
getting to Vegas. Um, But yeah, I think that's pretty good stats. Like they were saying, um, I guess they get like maybe 300,000 viewers if they get like even point something of a percent of of the population to tune in. Um, so yeah, probably huge for the game, huge to grow it. Might backfire. Is there potential for it to backfire that they start? Oh, nah. So I guess what's comparable. Like I was talking to Cams about this. Like when you look at these NFL players, for them to make the switch to want to choose this game, you're probably looking at like guys that can't make tier 3 there to get comparable kind of money in the contracts. Hey, I don't
Yeah,
think like
yeah,
NFL.
basically.
Hmm. Yeah, like you're not gonna miss out on NFL contract and then drop down to like a tenth of your pay,
Mind you,
potential pay.
mind you, in saying that, if you have a look at the like
Oh,
the women's soccer, what were they saying? The females, they drew in 3.4 million, but they ended up getting paid 7. So at least 7 mil,
getting paid seven what? 7 mil.
even though their actual draw revenue while they
Oh
were
shit.
away was 3.4. And so
Ah, okay, yeah, yeah. I guess because it's FIFA, eh? They just
and
the
and
boys
soccer's
just
a game that
plump up the rest of it.
wouldn't be held in such high respects over there, like compared to your NBA and NFL and everything. And so
Hmm. Yeah,
there's still people that will take on those sports over there. So there's still
mm,
definite room for promotion.
yeah, yeah. We just gotta find a way to get over there for it. Nice. I just wanted to do a little plug for the Fox Memorial Final this week as well. Um, Richmond Bulldogs taking on the Point Chev Pirates, 3 p.m. out at Mount Smart Field 2. Um, so yeah, that should be pretty good. Finish up the Fox. I haven't covered any or watched much of this, but just a quick shout out to Kelly Simonu's son Presley. He, he's playing there, starting at number 12. So all the best to him and
Oh,
the
nice.
Pirates. Yeah, yeah, something to do this Saturday if you're doing nothing. Um, cool. Anything else from the
A
week,
week that
boys?
was. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
No, just for me, like we talked about the Samoa and the Kiwis and that, so it's just good to hear that announcement about the international game getting some love with the Tri-Series tournament and the women's internationals at the end of the season. So we saw that earlier at that World Cup, that just the passion, particularly for Samoa
Pacific
and the
teams, yeah.
Polynesian teams, yeah. So
Mm,
I do feel like the international game and the women's game that provides the largest opportunity for growth in rugby league. So it's important that that's nurtured and given that opportunity to grow.
yeah.
So I believe that I'm not sure they might be making this up, but I believe that part of the CBA negotiations, which I'm glad we didn't go into because that's boring as, but part of the agreement I believe was that the international teams will receive payment upgrades for tier 2 nations like Samoa.
Yeah.
So
And I think
when you can,
Australian government is part of that, so not just part of
oh,
the yeah, Australian government is actually going to put money towards those Pacific teams to
oh
kind of grow
nice,
that stuff. So that's awesome to hear as well.
yeah. So yeah, when you combine that passion that the players have and the fans have, and with actual investment, you know, and you look at the just the ever changing cultural demographic of the NRL. I just feel optimistic about the future of the international games. So that's just something I wanted to say.
Mm. Well, yeah, and that's one thing I'd like to kind of probably give my hats off to the NRL and the and rugby league over union is just the way they're treating these teams, the Pacific teams. Upgrades like this to Pacific players, that's putting these guys on the map, not just you're a great Pacific player. It's like no, you're a great player, like in the scheme of
Mm,
the game, not just out of all the Pacific Islanders, you're the best. It's like no, you guys are top notch across the whole the whole league. And then just real investment. Just the rules around allowing, and calling the Pacific teams tier two. Um, and I think tier one is only Australia, New Zealand, and England. Is that how they kind of? And so that might have to change those rules because at some point they're going to have to, once one of these Pacific teams takes out the World Cup, probably in the next one, they will start to question, well, what counts as a tier one and tier two nation.
Well,
Um,
they've got I'm not sure of the full criteria, but the RLIF, the Rugby League International Federation, they've got these genuine rules about what makes a tier one nation. So
oh,
part of it is like the regeneration of like for future players. So you've got to have legitimate
pathways
um,
to keep the game alive for your
yeah,
country.
and legitimate competitions in your home country. And this is where the
Okay.
Samoa and Tonga and that are falling over, right? So
Yeah, because
all
they'll
of their
never get
players are
to have the
essentially
internal comp
New
that they.
Zealand and Australia have come through those pathway systems. No, there's not much players. I don't know if there's any who have actually played league in Samoa and then come play for Samoa. So until they get it sorted, which looks a long way off, they'll always be tier two nations because you can't just be good, win the World Cup, and then that generation retires, and then
Yeah,
you've
and
got all
there's
these
no.
guy ones. But so, oh, sorry, you're tier one, so sucks to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
you. So that's a big part of being a tier one
Ah,
nation,
yeah,
just
yeah.
having that
That's quite good
regeneration
then.
part of it. Mm.
Because I like how the rules allow these players to,
Yeah,
to play
exactly,
for their
exactly,
country.
exactly.
Whereas at the moment with Union with the, is it a 2 year lockout or 3 year?
3 year lock,
Yeah,
3 year
so
lockout. So
especially when these guys, you kind of you'll start, and unless you're great, you kind of have to spend 3 years, learning your craft to kind of get in there, and then you probably play a couple of years, and then if you want to change, that's kind of at the twilight of your career for most players to be able to rep the other country. Um, so yeah, something that league can kind of pat themselves on the back and kind of getting these contracts and putting Pacifica, and acknowledging, they even say, a lot of commentators acknowledge, 50% of the players are Pacifica. So that's awesome to see the leaps and bounds they're doing.
yep.
Nice, awesome, nice closing point.
Um,
Pete, anything else, bro?
no, but what I did actually hear was just for the Warriors. Hey, they could be losing their home grounds to the Auckland Blues, bro.
Oh,
You heard that first here.
yeah. I heard that the Auckland
Yeah,
Blues can't afford to stay at Eden
yeah.
Park
So
and are looking around.
I was listening to Talkback and they were saying that that's on their radar, the old Mount Smart Stadium, just because even though it's a big venue and everything, it's just the cost wise, Eden Park was just stripping them financially.
But they can't. The Blues, what? They just come and
Eh?
that's Moana's home ground. That's Moana Pacifica's home ground. They're based out of
Oh,
there,
yeah.
so they can't just come and step on Moana's feet and go, "Oh, actually, you guys got to go rent Eden Park 'cause
Hey, they're
we
coming
heard
to
you guys
Trust
got more
Stadium.
money." That's what I said. Bring them out
Yeah,
west. Uh, nice. Shop boys, that's a wrap. Looking forward to these some good footy. 3 more weeks to go. Um, and then I'm going to have an episode for you, Pete and Johnny and Roger and Cams to come on and explain yourselves, explain your teams.
Explain your Mad Monday plans. What you what you've hired.
no.
No, that'll be good.
Solid boys. Thanks for joining me on this episode. Check us out for more content, more of the write-ups from our columnists on WesWesNet.com. You'll find all the other podcast channels on there
Sweet.
as well. Shop
Okay.
boys, catch up. Bye.
Sweet. Thanks, brother.
Okay. Bye.
Cheers.
Cheers, also. Shop Pete. Shop for jumping on. Just
West
found
West
her.
y'all.